Every vehicle has a story of speed, adventure, and passion. Welcome to Motor Diaries, where the rubber meets the road, the engines roar, and every mile tells a tale. Buckle up, hit subscribe, and join us on the ride. You stab the start button, and a Coyote V8 snarls so loud your phone thinks you're at a concert. Now, imagine that roar mutating year after year until it morphs into an 800-horse, transaxle-packing street missile Ford swears is still a production car. Wild, right? I've dug through a decade of dyno pulls, track slips, and a few slightly singed press cars to line up the 10 Mustangs that slam the gas pedal on evolution. Stick around, because at the end I'm unleashing the secret sauce behind the 2025 GTD's race car DNA. And trust me, you're gonna want front row seats for that burnout. At number 10 on the list is the 1998 Ford Mustang Cobra. You jab the clutch of a 1998 Mustang Cobra, slot first, and let that hand-assembled 4.6-liter dual overhead cam breathe. A moment later, the aluminum mill clears its throat at 6,800 RPM, and the factory tax weighs past 305 horsepower. Back then, mod motor meant something new every month. Larger bore spacing here, tumble port heads there, but the 98 Cobra was the final refinement of the original SN95 formula. Ford shaved friction with lighter pistons, deep sump oil control, and a tweaked PCM that finally backed the 155-mile-per-hour limiter off for good. On paper, it still lost the numbers game to the Camaro SS's LS1, yet the Cobra's twin-cam Howl and supple Mystic Redline seats bought loyalty few GMF body owners would ever claim. As the dot-com bubble swelled, SVT's engineers were already plotting a bigger punch. At number 9, 2000 SVT Cobra. Fast forward to the year 2000. The 2000 SVT Cobra never really reached showrooms, though. Pre-production vehicles overheated on hot Georgia test loops. The claimed 320 horsepower, all-aluminum V8 missed its objective, and SVT chief John Coletti pulled the plug instead of selling an underbaked Halo. Ford replaced it with 300 Cobra R vehicles, each dipped in performance red, stripped of rear seats and air conditioning, and loaded with a 5.4-liter iron block truck engine tuned to 385 horsepower. The R came with a 5-point harness crammed in the trunk and wore a T-tray rear spoiler high enough to dry laundry. Though ordinary consumers had to wait, auto magazines got 0 to 60 in 4.4 and lauded the race car steering sensation. The canceled True 2000 Cobra became mystical folklore. It meant that SVT would sooner cancel a model than damage its own logo. At number 8, 2005 Shelby Cobra GT500. Ford paid that promise off in dramatic style 5 years later. January 2005, Detroit Auto Show. Out rolls the Shelby Cobra GT500 concept. Retro white, guardsman blue stripes, and Carroll Shelby himself laid back in the passenger seat. Perfection for all petrolheads, but especially for lovers of the old-school charm. Under the hood, a supercharged 5.4 with 4 cams, forged guts, and an Eaton blower the size of a watermelon. The concept touted an even 500 horsepower, but what mattered more was symbolism. The Shelby name was back, and the next Mustang generation would be born ready for war. The S197 production car followed the same year, looking 80% identical. Long hood, coiled haunches, hockey stick side cove, all waiting for Shelby to sprinkle supercharger dust. Enthusiasts immediately started to count down to the production GT500. Ford just grinned. At number 7, 2010 Shelby GT500. By 2010, that grin had torque. The refreshed 2010 Shelby GT500 thumped onto dealer floors with 540 horsepower and 510 pound-feet, courtesy of a revised intercooler and a cold air box inhaling through the outboard headlight. The nose sharpened, the rear spoiler grew a gurney lip, and, crucially, the Tremec TR6060 finally got a slightly shorter first gear so you could launch without cooking the clutch. Reviewers clocked 0 to 60 in 4.1 and the quarter mile in the high 11s on stock Goodyears. But the true magic trick was the optional glass roof, letting supercharged snarl echo inside like a booth at a heavy metal karaoke bar. The muscle car arms race was officially in ludicrous gear. At number 6, 2015 Mustang GT. Then Ford pressed the global reset switch. The 2015 Mustang GT landed with independent rear suspension, export-friendly packaging, and more smartphones than an Apple keynote. The familiar Coyote returned, stroked to 435 horsepower via larger valves, center connecting rods, and mid-lock variable cams. The S550's tighter dash-to-axle ratio and lower cowl meant the cockpit finally felt sports car low, while the IRS hacked wheel hop and brought lateral grip to 0.97 G on humble Pirellis. For the first time ever, a Mustang went on sale in right-hand drive. Tokyo to Sydney, the pony tide rolled out global. You could spec an EcoBoost, but most folks wanted the V8 soundtrack piped through the new active valve exhaust. At number 5, 2018 Shelby GT350. As good as that GT was, it still hummed in baritone. Ford wanted an area. Enter the 2018 Shelby GT350, the street-legal track tool carrying over the earlier 16 recipe, but spruced with subtle aero and remapped Magna Ride brain. Its 5.2-liter Voodoo remained insanity on a crankshaft, 526 horsepower, 429 pound-feet of torque, and a red line at 8,250 RPM, still the highest of any production Ford V8. Flat plane thunder rattled coffee cups 2 counties over, while plasma sprayed cylinder walls saved 8 pounds and let piston speeds flirt with 4,000 feet per second. Magazines lapped it at Laguna Seca in 1 minute 36 seconds, with entire widths of a Porsche GT3 at triple the price. More crucially, it reframed the Mustang not as a muscle car, but a driver's car that happened to shout. At number 4, 2020 Shelby GT500. Shouting got literal again when the 2020 Shelby GT500 parachuted in. Engineers took the Voodoo block, rebalanced it for a cross-plane crank, bolted a 2.65-liter Eaton TVS on top, and created the 760-horse Predator. A Tremec 7-speed dual-clutch snapped through the gears in 80 milliseconds, half a human blink, hurdling a 4,200-pound coupe to 60 in 3.3 and through the quarter in 10.7. Carbon fiber wheels and a biplane wing trimmed unsprung weight and added 550 pounds of downforce at 180. Lightning Lap saw a 2-minute 37.8, faster than a 991 GT3 RS, which cost twice the coin and had way less trunk space for barbecue gear. At number 3, 2021 Mach 1. Ford needed a new track day hero, so they made the Mach 1 with GT grunt and Shelby hardware. Borrowed bits slash 2 degrees of body roll and drop oil temps 25 degrees Fahrenheit on hot laps. Plus, you get a model-specific aero that's good for 22% more downforce than a GT with Performance Pack 1. Behind the scenes, the GT350 oil pump gears are billet steel, letting this engine sustain 1.4G lateral loads without pressure drop, crucial for a 30-minute HPDE session. At number 2, 2024 Dark Horse. The 7th Gen S650 keeps the V8 flame alive. Barely, but wraps it in a jet fighter cockpit. Meet the Dark Horse. The Gen 4 Coyote punches to 500 horsepower on forged rods, dual throttle bodies, and cam phasers so quick they're basically variable superpowers. Standard Magna Ride recalibrates every 10 milliseconds, and the cockpit now greets you with a fighter jet startup animation stretched across a 12.4-inch cluster and a 13.2-inch Sync 4 infotainment panel. Optional carbon wheels, Pirelli Trofeo RS rubber, and a lightweight titanium exhaust nudge curb weight under 3,900 pounds. On Pikes Peak test runs, prototypes recorded downforce equal to 1.4 times the car's weight at 140 miles per hour. Call it gravity-defying pony ballet. Yet, even that wasn't Ford's mic drop. That honor belongs to the 2025 Mustang GTD Spirit of America. At number 1, 2025 Mustang GTD. The GTD prototype, clad in carbon and DHL-sized wings, promises active flaps that stall for straights then snap back for 2.5G corners. Ford calls it a front-engine GT3 car for the street. The GTD moves the 8-speed dual clutch to a rear transaxle, which pairs with a carbon driveshaft for near-perfect weight split. The supercharged 5.2 now blows past 800 horsepower, fed by hood scoop nostrils that open and close like a fighter jet's variable inlets. Body panels? Mostly carbon. Suspension? Push rod actuated and hydraulically interconnected dampers that drop the ride height 40 millimeters in track aero mode. And that wing. Hydraulics cant the whole assembly 6 degrees to stall on straights, then slam back to full attack for cornering loads above 2.5G. Ford's target is a sub-7-minute Nürburgring lap, and they're selling it via application only. Owners must prove track intentions and U.S. charity contributions to nab the Spirit of America plaque. The price of this masterpiece? $300,000. Give or take some paint to sample pennies, but here every build slot is rumored to be spoken for before official order banks even open. If this really is the last pure gas Mustang, it's going out in a mic drop of titanium exhaust crackles. 10 evolutions, 1 roaring legacy. But what's rumbling beyond the horizon? Let's peek at the future. Electric ponies are already in the stable. The Mach-E GT hits 60 in 3.5 seconds, and rumor mill says a 2026 Shelby GT500 Legend could mix hybrid boost with a twin-turbo V8. Spy shots show widened fenders and battery cooling vents. Insiders hint at 800 plus combined horsepower. Crazy? Maybe. But so was a 200-mile-per-hour live-axle Mustang back in 2013, and look how that turned out. Which evolution parks in your dream garage? Hit the comments, stomp that like pedal, and subscribe. We have a lot prepared for you.